Well, I made it to my new home. I'm here in Alameda, and I've been actually here for a little over 3 months. Today's April 9th, 2023. It's actually Easter Sunday, and I arrived here. I left San Leandro on December 22nd, 2022, and so I've been here a while, and I really like the new marina here. And so at any rate, I got here just in time. In my last video, I mentioned that a storm was coming in while I was out on the bay sailing this direction, and it turned out to be probably one of the biggest storms that ever hit California. It rained every day nonstop for over a month, and I've grown up in California. I've been here all of my life pretty much, and I've never seen anything like it, so I got in just in time. But at any rate, everything went well, and I pulled in at night. I got a late start getting out of San Leandro. I wanted to get out before high tide, and I actually missed it. So I was like 2 hours past high tide. I was worried I was going to run aground because they hadn't dredged the marina like in 20 years. And but it was a king tide, so it was a high tide. It was very high. And I got out. I didn't run aground, so everything was good. And at any rate, so that's what's going on. I have my dinghy up on the bow for the trip, and it worked out good. It used to be on davits in the back. I had to shorten the boat. I couldn't find a 50-foot slip anywhere to put my boat into, and so I came up with the idea, maybe I can shorten my boat. So sure enough, I took the davits off, took the dinghy off the back, and I had to raise up the mizzen boom to shorten it down. So now my boat originally was about 51 feet, and now it's 46 feet overall. And so they put me in this 44-foot slip, so I overhang a couple feet, but they allow, I think, 3 feet of overhang, so that worked out great. And I got a liveaboard slip, so I'm a liveaboard, and I really lucked out on that. And so everything's going good. And there's the mizzen boom. And I was a little worried about it being up like that, but I got it tied off good. And we had hurricane force winds in here. We had winds over here in the Bay Area in Oakland Airport. I think it was clocked at 74 miles an hour, which is hurricane force winds. And yeah, it was fine. It didn't even really move around too much. So yeah, it works out good. And I was worried I was going to have to take it off and take it down to shorten the boat, but I come up with a way to change the gooseneck on it so I could hoist it up. It wouldn't go up very high because of the sail, but I had to extend the gooseneck out a little bit, and I was able to lift it up high enough to where it's shorter than the back of the boat here. And that works out really good because I don't have, now if I go sailing, I can just lower it down and hoist the sail up. I'm ready to go. So I don't have to like put the boom on or anything like that. So at any rate. I just getting ready to brush the bottom. I got some seagrass growing on the bottom, and that's typical this time of year. Usually get it in the springtime and then again in the fall. And usually it'll just go away by itself, but on the other side of the boat it's looking a little ratty. So I just bought that brush there, and then this PVC tubing with the foam. That was the previous owner. He had made that, and so what he had was he had styrofoam. It was a round tube of styrofoam that was on that T there, and then he had a scrubbing type of scrubbing pad. It was kind of like a Scotch-Brite pad, but it was round, and he had it tied on. And so what happens is the foam makes the whole thing float, and you push it down to clean the bottom of the boat, and you can go all the way to the bottom of the boat, and the buoyancy of the foam pushes that up with the scrub brush wrapped around it, and it literally cleans off the bottom of the boat really well. And it also activates the anti-fouling paint, which is a blading type of paint, which you need to like scrub it, and then that activates it, so it keeps the sea growth off and the barnacles off. If you take your boat out a lot, just the salt water passing under the boat actually will activate it, because it's almost like being sandblasted, salt in the water. I think that's why dentists tell you to rinse your mouth out with salt water. It's the salt that actually cleans. It's abrasive. And but I got this. I had to take it apart and cut it down. I didn't want to store it on the deck. It used to be stored on the deck. It was connected to that other PVC tubing there that's next to the silver tube. So it was real long, and I couldn't store it underneath the cockpit. I have the cockpit hatch open over there, so I had to cut it in half. I wanted to keep it, and but I went to the hardware store, and of course they're closed today because it's a holiday, so I couldn't get pieces to piece it back together. So I went ahead and bought that brush instead, and I can use the brush to clean the deck and the cabin top and the sides of the boat. And the brush comes off the end, so I think I'm going to figure out a way to put the stainless steel tube into the PVC tube here, and then I can go ahead and do the same type of cleaning that the previous owner had with the floating scrubby thing on the end. So that's what's going on there, and it's really nice weather. This is the best day we've had this year. I mean, this winter has just been unbelievable. A lot of rain and a lot of snow in the Sierras, and so it's been great. And I did this fiberglass job, and now in previous videos, if you've seen any of my previous videos where I fiberglass this. Now, unfortunately, I didn't film the fiberglassing part. I was in such a hurry to get this done, and I didn't want to get resin. I had resin all over my hands all the time, and I didn't want to get all over my camera. And I wished I would have went ahead and did it and filmed it, but I did film all the gel coat that I did. So the white gel coat and the green. And if you've seen some of my previous videos where I'm doing the non-skid gel coat here on the top, I originally was going for like a beach sand color, and I got this gel coat from a local place, and it had a picture of a sailboat on the can, and so I went ahead and used that. And after I gel coated it and did the non-skid, it was a brown color, and I mixed my own color, and I wasn't real happy with it. I had a little orange to it to give it a little pop. It looked great at sunset. I mean, it really just glowed. But about 2 days later, I noticed that the color started to fade, and within about a week or two, it literally just faded, almost completely faded out, and I wasn't real happy. And so I went back over to the place where I bought the gel coat and talked to the manager. He worked there for 25 years, said he's never seen anything like it. He said, "Did you add anything to it?" And I said, "Yes, I added this stuff called soft sand. It's like sand, but it's actually rubber beads, and which is what you really want to use. Some people use sand for non-skid, and they mix it into the gel coat or the paint. If they use paint or gel coat, whichever you decide to use. The problem is that the sand doesn't expand and contract with heat and cold, and it causes the gel coat to crack. And so this soft sand's supposed to solve that problem. So I went with soft sand, and So I thought, okay, well, maybe the soft sand had something to do with it. So I had a lot of texture on it, and so I thought I'm going to go ahead and give it another coat. I'm going to change the color. I decided to go with a different color. So I went and I did another coat, and it was a lot of work. I mean, just putting the masking tape, as you can see the green and the white there, I had to put masking tape all around to create that overhang there. And with all the curved surfaces and everything, it took me literally 9 hours just to put the masking tape on. And so I had to go and do it again. Luckily, the second time I had a guide to go by because I had the tan color on there. You can still see it. And so I went ahead and I did a second color. And this time I wanted this bubblegum color, kind of like I see a lot of girls wearing these tennis shoes that are like this pinkish purple color, real fluorescent. And I thought that would look really good. So I went and used the same gel coat, but this time I didn't put any soft sand in it because it was already textured really well. I thought, okay, I'm just going to use the gel coat and hopefully it'll be okay. Same thing happened. A couple of days later, it started to fade. And when I first started, the original color was kind of a Pepto-Bismol color, and it faded within the first day or two. I already noticed fading. And on the where my boat was in San Leandro Marina, on the sunny side of the boat, it faded, almost looked like vanilla ice cream. I mean, there was like no color left, and I was not happy. So the shady side, it faded. It wasn't quite as bad, but it faded quite a bit. And everybody just thought that color looked great before it faded. I got a lot of compliments on it, and I really liked it. So I had to do it again because I wasn't going to, I just couldn't settle for it being faded out like that after doing all this work. So I went ahead and I got, this time I didn't mess around. I just went ahead and ordered some gel coat from Total Boat. They're back in New England, and they have really, really good products. And so I went ahead and ordered Total Boat gel coat and some of their coloring agent. And I decided to change the color again. And my boat kind of reminds me of an old haunted house. It's kind of like an old Victorian house, kind of inside and out. And when I was growing up in the Central Valley, there was a lot of old farmhouses. Some of them were old Victorian houses from the 1800s, and they'd put the green composite roof on, their Corning glass makes these shingles that are like tar paper, and then there's sprinkler. I think it's actually literally glass and like ground up glass. And a lot of the old houses were painted white, and then they'd have this green roof on it, and it looked really cool. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and try that color. And so I tried to match it. I went online trying to find pictures, and it was kind of difficult. And I got pretty close, but I'm really happy with it. It turned out really good. I think this green color makes the teak when I varnish it, it needs to be varnished, but like the railing up there, it really makes the teak look good. And so overall, I'm really happy, but the best part is I had all these rainwater leaks. That's the reason I had to fiberglass over the entire cabin. When this boat was built originally over in Taipei, cabin's made out of plywood, and it's not the best quality. And they put one layer of fiberglass cloth over the cabin. And it was really strange how they did it, because what they did was they put a layer on the top, and then it went over the side. So basically the first layer on the top was just like the green that you see here. It went over the side and went over the top and then down the side about an inch or so, like this is. And then right here, it was a seam. So they had fiberglass coming down to here, and it just terminated. And then they put another fiberglass cloth from here down. So there's a seam all the way along here. Then they put a piece of teak. As a matter of fact, this is some of the teak that I used from the trim to frame these windows. I put carbon or polycarbonate windows in, bulletproof glass. They were actual glass windows, and I don't like glass windows on a boat, so unless they're small. and these are pretty big. So they had this teak trim across here, and there's a seam, and I guess they thought that the teak trim would keep the rainwater out. Well, it didn't. The rainwater would get right in to the seam there behind the teak, and so I had really bad leaks, especially on these corners here. And so I had rainwater getting in the boat, and it was starting to damage the wood. And I've seen some of these boats on YouTube, some guys working on them. The previous owner luckily put a tarp over this boat every winter and took really good care of it. But I've seen some other boats where they've been out in the weather and the entire cabin was rotted. I mean, the whole thing. And I've seen some guys on YouTube rebuilding them, and a couple of guys, and they pretty much gave up. They had a YouTube channel for a while, and then that was it. They quit. And basically they had to rebuild the whole thing. So I was really lucky. I had a little bit of dry rot on the other side, and I used some git rot, which is penetrating epoxy, and drilled a bunch of holes partially into the side. It was on the side like here where the white is, and I didn't want to cut it out and put another piece of plywood in there. I just didn't think that would be a good move. It was just going to make more work, and you know, wouldn't guarantee that it would rot again. So I decided, you know, I just got to fiberglass this whole thing. There's no other ways to fix it. I tried patching it here and there with different things, and you know, but I couldn't find the leaks because they were hidden behind the teak trim. So I went ahead and removed all the teak trim, and I kind of hated to do it because the boat looked really good with all the teak, but teak's a lot of work, so actually it's a lot less maintenance now, and I think it looks great, so I'm really happy with it. And that's the difference. You know, it's, using it, just fiberglassing over the entire thing, and not having really too much damage. Where those other guys on YouTube, they were dealing with a nightmare, and so I was really lucky. So it worked out really good. I'm thinking about putting windows there in the front, kind of so I can see forward, and let more light into the boat. Maybe 3 long windows, one in the middle and one on each end here, and looking forward. So it'd be kind of like a pilot house. Not really. It's you have to stand up to see out the windows, and of course you're not going to see very good because the front part of this cabin goes up too. But when you're out on the water, the boat moves up and down, so I could be able to see the horizon and look up and see the sails too from inside the boat. And go around the other side. And you can see all the seagrass growing on the bottom there. Mostly on this side because I think the sun makes it grow. And it brushes right off, so it's no big deal. I'm going to have to go up to the top of my masthead on my big tall mast here. The masthead light is not working, and I hope it's just the bulb, because when I bought this boat, none of the lights on the mast are working at all. And the previous owner said, oh, they're just burnt out. Well, he had these masts taken off and he painted them and put back on, and I am hoping that it's not a wiring problem, because all the wires are internal, they're inside the mast. But he said that wasn't the case. But it's just strange that the masthead light's not working. The spreader lights there are not working. And there's also a bow light up there by the spreader, that silver thing in the front of the mast. That's not working either. The running lights work. Everything else works. I have this zinc hanging on this wire here, and this is for my rudder post. So some grass growing on it, but this here is a zinc on the end of this wire here, and I need to clean it off. It's kind of icky. And this is attached to my rudder post to give it a little extra protection from galvanic corrosion. And it works pretty good because you can also monitor just by pulling this up and looking at it on how fast it's decaying. It depends on, there's a lot of things that can cause your zincs to go quick. The boats that are around you in the marina, if they're not grounded properly, it can cause problems. And other things are like if you're parked next to a steel-hulled boat, that can eat up your zincs really fast. So they're protective zincs, that sacrificial zincs are what they're called, and you put them on your prop shaft and on your rudder post, and your pencil and gudgeon that is part of the hinge for the rudder have these zincs on there. And so you got to be really careful and make sure that you replace them periodically, because you know, if you don't keep an eye on your zincs, then you can literally, your prop can be damaged, your prop shaft can be damaged. And I've seen blades literally just fly off the prop because of galvanic corrosion and cracks. So, at any rate, here's my gooseneck that I pieced together, and I just happen to have some parts that work. I haven't sailed it yet, so I don't know what it's going to be like. I may have to redo it, but it's working for now. So. And my non-skid really worked out good. So you can see the texture in it, and it's really worked out good. I got a little touch-up I have to do on this white gel coat. I wanted white under the handrails for a couple reasons. One, I didn't want any non-skid in it because that'll tear your knuckles up when you go to grab on. And the other reason I wanted white is so you can see them in the dark. So when you're out, you know, on the water at night, and you need to grab a handrail, it's good to have it so you can see it. And that's the anchor off my old boat. It's only 45 pounds. I think it's 45. It's kind of small for this boat, so I have it for a stern anchor. I think it's 45. Let me see. Nope. It's only 30 pounds and small, but it'll work fine for a stern anchor on this boat. And that's my that's my stern light I had to build. That's a stanchion for one of the lifelines off my old boat. And when I left San Leandro, because I took the davits off. The davit one of the davits had the stern light on it, and it was that stern light right there on the top of the pole. And so I took the davits off, and so I didn't have a stern light, and I was in a real big hurry, and I thought, well, I'll get in before dark, I won't need it. And then at the last minute I thought, no, I better have a stern light. And so I come up with I didn't know where to put it, and I come up with an idea to use one of the old stanchions off of my old boat, which worked great. And so I was really glad I had it, because I got in here, it was dark. So yeah, I needed it. So it worked out good. It still works. And I got to do some work on the hatches back here. I did this in San Leandro. I didn't film it, but I rebuilt that hatch right there with redwood. So those are redwood planks that I put together, and just kind of the plywood was rotting on the hatches, and that one was rotted, and that little one there, and the one in the middle here also needs to be redone. And this one I redone it. Let's see if I can open it. Yeah, and this one I redid. So there's the redwood, and redwood's the way to go. My other boat, I had to put cockpit seats in my other boat. I didn't have no seats when I bought it, and so I made them out of redwood, and they lasted for 20 years, and they were still in great shape. And I didn't treat them with anything. I didn't put anything on them. Didn't paint them. And they worked out really good. So at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and clean the bottom off now, and clean some of the grasses off the bottom. And here's a view of the marina here. And there's the channel. That's the Oakland Estuary. And there's a boat out there sailing. A lot of boats around here, which is kind of nice. In San Leandro, there wasn't many boats moving around at all. So at any rate, that's it. My new home. I really lucked out.